Congressman Doug Collins is the ranking member on House Judiciary Committee. And Congressman, you have said the president does have all the legal authority he needs to declare a national emergency at the border. But talk to me about the politics of doing that.
Harris, he can do it. In fact, this is not even up for debate. Very much of a Trump critic of Harvard law professor, Mr. Tushnet, has said this is probably as solid legal ground as you ever want to stand on. What really disturbs me is what John Roberts just said, is that people would go to the 9th District, that they found their court that basically will ignore black letter law to try and get an injunction on something. That's the most disturbing comment I've heard in the last probably 24 hours, and I've heard a lot of stuff in the last 24 hours. So when you look at this, he's on solid legal ground. This is a way to move forward, and the Democrats, Ms. Pelosi made it very clear yesterday, and I thought it was the most clairvoyant statement she's made the whole time, and probably it revealed her true intention. The president asked, will you support, if I opened up the government in 30 days, would you then agree to work on security in the wall? And she said no. She didn't even have the audacity to say, you know, Mr. President, that's what we've been asking for. Let's do that. She just simply pulled the shield down and said, no, we're not going to do it.
So, you know, I talked about this last hour, and I'm wondering, I also asked Kellyanne Conway with the White House about this too. Is there any way to give Democrats and call their bluff a fat yes by just stop saying the word wall? Call it a steel slat system. Call it a barrier. No, I'm serious about this, because that's what they say they have a sticking point on, but they all agree that the legislation has called for something, strong fence line or something, since Democrats passed it in 2006. So if you call it something different, call their bluff on it.
Well, they called their bluff on it last year when they voted for Homeland Security budget, and it had $1.6 billion in there for border security. The bluff's already been called, Harris. Let's just call it for what it is. This has nothing to do with wall. It has nothing to do with steel fence. They'll claim it does. This has nothing to do with that. It simply says we are now in a position where, Mr. President, we have a chance to make what we feel like a point and make you look bad. The president has said, no, we're not going to do this. And she revealed it yesterday. Like I said, the clearest point yesterday was they had been saying up until yesterday, Mr. President, open the government and we'll negotiate with you on border security. Guess what? Yesterday he said, okay, I'm saying exactly what you're saying. And she said no. The problem now is Ms. Pelosi undoubtedly would prefer those trying to overrun our borders to the American citizens who will not have a paycheck tomorrow. Ms. Pelosi, answer that question.
All right. I was looking down at this. The president tweeted this today. Let's pop it up on the screen. This is great unity with the Republicans in the House and Senate, despite the fake news media working in overdrive to make the story look otherwise. The opposition party and the Dems know we must have stronger border security, but don't want to give Trump, and he puts his own name in quotes, another one of many wins. You know, they can't change the fact that this is the president of the United States. This is a partial government shutdown that he said he would take the responsibility for. Is it getting heated for Democrats?
I think it will, and I think what's happening is, remember, the president's made a very clear statement. He framed the issue. When he said he would take responsibility for the shutdown, he framed the issue with the speaker and the minority leader when he said, look, if you want to put these immigrants who are trying to overrun our borders first, then I'm going to put America first. He just simply framed the issue, Harris, and I think that's what he's doing still. The pressure will continue on, especially after yesterday when she said no, after they've been saying for weeks now, here's what we'll do, get it open, and then we'll negotiate. And she said no. They revealed their true colors yesterday in this issue, so we need to actually find a way that we can get this done. It needs to happen. We do not need to have a shutdown. We need to come together, fund our border security, find a way out that would be palatable to Democrats, and open the government back up. But the president's standing firm.
Real quickly before I let you go, Congressman Collins, you know, a few months ago, Republicans stood in the way of this getting done. There was DACA on the table. There was a way to go forward. Are Republicans more yoked together now? Are they caucused together to get something through?
I think we are. I think you're seeing that last night.
What has changed?
I think just to resolve that we know that this is something that needs to get done, and this is an opportunity for us to do it. The president has drawn this line, and we're going to stand on that line. I think right now we're seeing that happen.
Do you regret that Republicans, when they were in the majority, the House and the Senate together, couldn't give the president what he wanted?
Yes, I do. I voted for both the plans. I wanted to see something done last year. We needed to have made a stand last year, and we didn't do it. Now we're seeing the results of that. And also remember, the Senate also had a say in that as well, and the Senate was boxed out. But the House, I voted for both to try and move those forward. We do need to work on this, Harris, and I could talk to you a long time about what we can do to fix this, from Flores to asylum to those victim status, where we have a perverse incentive for people from other countries to take their own children, separate them, and send them across with coyotes and people who do them harm. We have a perverse incentive that when they get here, that the system will not ever process them. We've got to fix that.
Well, if they pass these appropriations bills, and you can talk about it at a later date, the president put that carrot out there for Democrats, and Nancy Pelosi said no. So we'll have to figure out what you can do to get to the point where we can hit all those points that you're making for a deal. Congressman Doug Collins of the great state of Georgia, thank you so much.
I very calmly said, if you're not going to give us strong borders, bye-bye, and I left. I didn't rant. I didn't rave like you reported. I mean, some of the newspapers, and then Schumer always has his standard lie. He had a temper tantrum. I don't have temper tantrums. I really don't. But it plays to his narrative, but it's a lie. I very calmly walked out of the room. I didn't smash the table. I should have, but I didn't smash the table. And that's the story. So all of that narrative is a lie.
President Trump is now in the air on his way to the southern border. McAllen, Texas is his destination. Hogan Gidley is now joining us live from the White House. He's the deputy press secretary. And Hogan, good morning to you.
Great to have you back.
Welcome you to America's Newsroom. And I know you were in the Situation Room yesterday. You also just spoke to the president as he departed. What were his thoughts as he left?
Oh, well, what you heard for all the world to see and hear out in the South Lawn is exactly what he told me beforehand, and that is Democrats refuse to negotiate. We now know that, and Ted Lieu was on earlier. What he said was a flat-out lie. He just told you that if the president opened the government and gave everything that the Democrats wanted to the Democrats, that they would negotiate on border security, including a fence. That is incorrect. The president exposed the Democrat hypocrisy and the refusal to negotiate in the Situation Room when he looked directly at Nancy Pelosi and said, what if I open the government? Will you talk to me about border security, including border barriers? And she said no. The meeting then was over. They refused to negotiate. We all saw their ridiculous, ignorant, and offensive language in that rebuttal to him the other night from the Oval Office when they kept using the phrase manufactured crisis. Was it manufactured when they voted for it multiple times in the past years? Was it manufactured when Barack Obama, right outside this wall to my right in the Rose Garden, said it was a crisis? And also, I bet if you asked the people in this country, the friends and family of those affected by illegal immigrants who've assaulted, sexually assaulted, or killed their loved ones, if it's manufactured, I guarantee you they'd say no. We have a crisis in this country. Democrats refuse to acknowledge it. They don't know the data, they don't believe the data, and worse, they don't care.
Okay. A couple specific questions. Again, just to repeat, you were in the room yesterday, correct?
Yes, sir.
Will the president declare a national emergency?
Well, he's looking at it, as you just heard him tell the cameras just now.
How strongly would he consider that?
Oh, he's strongly considering everything. Look, he has to secure the border. He's taken a constitutional oath to protect the American people. He's looking at every option under his legal authority to do just that. And we don't have any announcement on it at this time, but he's looking at every option because Democrats won't negotiate. Yep. This has to be fixed. Look, this has to be fixed via Congress. Yeah. This has to be fixed via Congress, Bill, and we don't want to put them, let them off the hook here. But the fact of the matter is, the president still owns the obligation to protect the American people, and he's looking at every option to do just that.
Have you talked about a grand bargain? Do border security, do DACA, do all of it?
Well, look, we put that forward more than a year ago during the Schumer shutdown. They refused to talk about it then.
But in the current negotiations, is it being discussed?
Look, our offer's on the table. We put forth a comprehensive plan talking about technology for narcotics, more border security along the southern border at our ports of entry. We also talked about more beds, more ICE agents, all the things that Democrats talked about, including letting people claim asylum from their own country of origin. We've done all those things that the Democrats wanted, including changing the materials of the fencing from concrete to steel. So we have bent over backwards trying to negotiate with Democrats. We gave them a plan before Christmas, and we have yet to hear any solution. In fact, the only thing they are saying about solutions to this crisis center only around ports of entry. There are thousands of miles between ports of entry, and they want no solution to the 72% of illegal immigrants that come across between ports of entry.
People are just trying to figure out the president's strategy here, because we did go look back, and some of the president's tweets in the past reference that some of the best deals are the ones you walk away from. The art of the deal, if you will. You know, where does the president think he stands right now as far as leverage in this negotiation and the progress that he's making with Democrats?
Well, it's not about leverage in the negotiation. It's laying out a case directly to the American people. You saw him do that from the Oval Office. You're going to see it today when he goes down to the border. What we're about to see is an incredible situation down in Texas where you're going to see the humanitarian crisis, the faces of the people affected directly by illegal immigration. You're going to see the drugs. You're going to see the human trafficker situation right in your face. You're going to see the technology we have along the border. You're going to see that we need more of it. He's going to outline exactly what's going on directly to the American people. That also bolsters the case because in their heart of hearts, Americans understand we have an issue at the border. We are taking that directly to them without the filter of cable news, without the filter of political pundits. He's going right to the American people as he does so artfully all of the time.
We will watch that arrival in McAllen. I just have one last question.
Sure.
Is there another meeting on the calendar with Democrats, congressional leaders, or not?
Yeah. Not to my knowledge yet, but look, we're here. We've put forth everything. The president stayed through Christmas and New Year's. He's ready to negotiate. Democrats just simply won't come to the table. And it's the American people, both the 800,000 federal employees and the 300+ million people of this country who are suffering because of the Democrats' inaction.
Well, we are out of time, but we appreciate yours. Come on
Thanks so
back
much.
when we've got some news. Hogan Gidley from the White House. Thank you.
Thank you, Hogan.